let's get right to it. Let's get right to it. So yeah, this article is from the New York Post. As you can see, it says single women own millions more homes than single men in the U.S. and the gap is only growing. That's crazy. And well, not crazy like that, but it's just interesting though because when you read under the article, it says statistically on average, men make more than women. So it's not a financial thing. I just feel like, hey, what do you think? But I think these women are here like they ain't waiting on a man. They ain't, they're not caring. Like societal norms have changed. Women are more independent now, career driven, and a lot of times women want stability. And as far as where you live and home ownership, like, I mean, that's what you want. So I feel like that's definitely playing a part in it. Then you look, marriage rates, are down compared to yesteryear. People getting married later. And I just think women aren't waiting. They ain't waiting. They're like, no, we ain't waiting. But we making more than we ever did. We more independent than we ever been. So we purchasing houses, especially if you think about a single mom. She definitely would want that stability housing wise for sure. And like I said, it's then I'm thinking like, okay, is it that women's credit score, like whose credit score is typically higher? And on my research doing that, I found that I mean, I saw half articles said women did, half articles said men did. So the credit score isn't the determining factor. It's like I said, I just feel like solely women, like I said, they're more independent now and they're not waiting. Excuse me, they're not waiting. Like they get into it. And also, even on top of that, me personally, I don't know. This is my, anecdotal experience. I don't know a single male that purchased a home to live in. And even on top of that, I don't even know any single men that are even talking about purchasing a home to live in. Like I said, I'm saying to live in. Like I know guys that, flipping houses, rental properties, that type of thing. But as far as to live in, like I don't even know any guys that's even, a goal of theirs. Like I said, I know a few different single women, that own a home. And I know single women that they talk about it. Like they like, look, I want to buy a house to live in. Like I said, I just those conversations aren't really had, amongst men. And I think too is your upbringing. I feel like, especially my generation, I feel like a lot of women were taught, you know, don't depend on a guy. Be make sure your money's straight. And all of that type of stuff. So I just think that played a part in it too. They're like, okay, we've been told don't depend on a guy. So if we want to buy a house, we're gonna buy a house. We're not gonna wait on the guy. You know, and men, like I said, they just don't value buying a house to live in for some reason. What do you think? Leave a comment, like, share, subscribe. But like I said, tell me know what you think on this. I just found that very interesting. Any women, if you own a home, put in the comments, kind of what I guess drove you to, purchase a home. And the guys, why y'all not caring about buying a personal residence? Yeah, I just thought this was an interesting article from the New York Times.